I want to take this opportunity and thank you for allowing me to come in your home virtually today and talk with you about getting your property sold. I understand that you've probably had a lot of emails, phone calls, or you've seen other agents online and they all had something to say about getting your home sold. So I want to let you know how much I appreciate you allowing me to come into your home virtually to talk with you about it. And today what I really want to do is I want to identify why properties don't sell and show you a marketing plan that I think will get your property sold for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. In my opinion, there are 3 reasons why specifically a property will or will not sell right now in this economy. The first is price. The second is how your home shows. And the third is how a property is marketed. Now, the first reason why a property will or will not sell in this market is how well it's priced. And price is one of these interesting things where I don't directly control the value of your property. And funny enough, neither do you. The value of your property is really determined by what a buyer in this market is willing to pay at any specific moment. Also, value is determined by how fast you would like your property to sell. So let's go through a couple of things that we do to make sure we give you the most accurate value for your property at any given moment. We've developed a plan called 555. And I doubt that many other agents have ever talked to you about anything like this. But the 555 program that we show you is 5 active properties that I think match your property's criteria, location, amenities, benefits, features, etc. 5 pending properties, properties that have actual accepted offers, and 5 sold properties, properties that have actually closed recently, let's say the last 90 to 180 days. Now, based on the 555, when we're done going through this program and look at the comparable properties, I believe you and I will have a clear indication on what your property will actually sell for in this market. And in the end, you will have a couple of important choices to make. Number 1, do you accept the value of today's market, and do you want to proceed with selling? 2, the value is just not right for you right now and you want to hold off for the next 5 to 7 years until the market rebounds so you can get the value that you want. Or number 3, we could talk about some additional strategies and maybe try a range of prices as a kind of compromise if that works for you. Now, traditionally, what I know in today's market is if you have your property priced correctly within the first 30 days, you should have offers on your property. It doesn't mean that you have to accept them, but you should have people interested in making offers. At the end of the 30 days, if we have people looking at your property, but nobody's decided to make an offer, in my experience, you're probably off about 4 to 6% of the pricing. If we have a low amount of showings and still no offers, in my experience, you're about 6 to 12% off in your actual initial pricing estimate. And then sometimes what happens is if we're way off and there are no showings at all and you just have people driving by or no one's even driving by, then you're probably off about 12%. So what I'm going to do is at the end of the 30 days of marketing your property, and that's if I don't have it sold by then, we'll get together, we'll go over how many showings, how many offers, etc. And you'll make a decision if you need to make a price adjustment or if you want to just keep it out there a little longer. Now, the second thing that we've determined that will allow a property to sell or not to sell is how well your property shows. Okay? So once we finish with all the paperwork, what we'll do is schedule an appointment for our staging department to come out and give you some tips on what you can do to make sure that your property is staged as beautifully as you can. And what I want to do is make sure you understand the evolution of today's market. You see, about 7 to 8 years ago, when I would invite a client to my office, I would sit them around the conference room table, and these were potential buyers. And I would lay out a whole bunch of paperwork, and I would say, these are the 10 to 12 properties that I'm going to show you today. Now what happens is when I invite a client to my office and we sit around the conference table, they reach for their iPad or their cell phone or pieces of paper they've printed out, and they say, hey, these are the 10 to 12 properties you're going to show me today. You see, buyers in today's market are deciding to see properties prior to even meeting the real estate agent. And you're probably aware of this, but buyers are finding the properties online before they even talk to the agents. You see, a lot of buyers are searching the internet, right? And so that means we need to make sure that your property shows well online. And what I mean by this is we need to take extra time to make sure that we have a beautiful virtual tour, that we have videos created for your property. I call them 24-hour open houses, where we take as many photos as possible. I'm going to showcase your property so well online that it just looks phenomenal, and everyone who sees it online should want to come out and view your property. Now, the third thing is marketing. Now, if we do the first two things, which is price your property correctly, and the second, which is make sure it shows well both in person and online, then the third thing we have to do is market it effectively. Now, of all the three things that I say will determine if a property will or will not sell in this market, this is the thing that I own as the agent. You see, the first is determined by the market. The second is determined really by you and how well you do repairs and how well you keep it up, and the staging that you have done, picking up rooms and, when you're living in a property. So those are determined by you. I specialize in marketing and selling properties. Okay? Properties especially that have resisted the sale before in the past. I've sold a lot of homes that were previously listed with another agent, and they just couldn't sell it for whatever reason. Professionals are salespeople, or they're people. They aren't necessarily the system-based marketing experts that it takes to get a property sold for the most amount of money in the least amount of time in this market. Now, every single year, the National Association of Realtors does a profile of buyers and sellers of the nation. And in their study, they figure out how buyers find the actual homes that they purchase, and the breakdown of this information is put into a pie chart for us. And I've been able to take this material every single year for the last 8 or 9 years and craft a marketing plan that matches how buyers are actually searching today. Okay? How they're searching for properties, because it changes every single year. Every single year since I've gotten to business, it changes. Now, the National Association of Realtors profile of buyers and sellers first said that the real estate agents are an important piece of the marketing process. They went on to say that nearly 35% of all transactions came because a real estate agent like me said, "You should come out and see this specific property." Now, in the past, this number has been as high as about 70 to 80%, which means that real estate agents were extremely important in the past. But still, nearly 1/3 of all transactions happen because a real estate agent will tell their client, "Go see this particular property." This number is so large that we still need to make sure that we have a marketing plan in place that will allow us to market your property directly to real estate professionals. We actually have a full marketing plan just for marketing your property to other agents. The first thing we're going to do is create electronic flyers of your property, and we're going to deliver those electronic properties to real estate agents. Additionally, we're going to print up some paper flyers and take those to the offices of those agents. We're also going to send out copies of virtual tours to the agents in our area, where we're going to post your virtual tour on the MLS to all the agents so they can see all the interior pictures and decide if this is the right property to show their particular client. We're going to stand up in the realtor meetings, and we're going to announce your properties, the features, the benefits. And the fifth thing that we do, and it's probably the strongest we offer in this area, is we're going to have constant communications with the agents in the area, specifically to the ones who've already shown your property. Now, in our experience, communication has been the #1 complaint sellers give when they were with the previous agent. So they always wish that the agents had done a better job at communicating with them. Sometimes agents do a good job of sending an email or making a call saying, "Hey, you had a showing, but you're not going to buy." When somebody views your property, what I like to do is I like to kick this up a notch, and I like to say to the agents, "What did your buyers think of the property? Were they thinking about making an offer? Is there anything that I can do to make an offer for them or to get them to make an offer? Are there any changes in the property that would make it more appealing to your buyer? If they aren't going to buy this property, is there another property in the market that I can show my seller so they can understand why your clients chose that property over ours? And then I'm going to give you the feedback directly. And I'm not going to put any filters on it. Okay, so that way you'll know exactly what people were saying about your property. Now, if I add all these things together in the marketing plan for real estate agents, if there's anything that I forgot to mention that someone else mentioned to you that they would do in regards to marketing your property to other real estate agents, please let me know at our meeting. Online marketing. Okay, so online marketing, we have to continue learning from the profile of the buyers and sellers. And we've got to understand that online marketing represents a huge amount of potential clients out there. What we know is that over 90% of all buyers use the internet to search for properties. The interesting thing is that we've learned was that over the past year, about 37% of all buyers found the actual home that they purchased first online. And this is pretty massive because this is the first time in history where there has been a source greater than the real estate agents in finding property. Well, the interesting thing is this, that almost 90% of all buyers were represented by a real estate professional. So their agent, even though they saw the property online first, their agent is actually the one who represented them. The agent actually showed them the property and helped make the transaction to go through. So the agent is still a very important piece of the transaction. Now, I've been trained in Sims marketing program and several other marketing programs as a marketing specialist, which is one of the most advanced internet marketing programs in the real estate industry for agents. And I wanted to learn about marketing properties effectively for my clients online. In the Sims program, I learned about the 5 buckets of online marketing that allows me to showcase properties most effectively. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one of these buckets and take some extra time to talk about how a property can be effectively marketed online. The first one is the brokerage websites. What we know is that the brokerage website is extremely important. Brokerage websites would be things like Century 21, EXP, Keller Williams, Coast to Coast Home Consultants, etc. Our technology allows us to market your property effectively across a majority of all brokerage websites in the United States. National portals. The second bucket that we learned about was to market your property effectively in the national portals. Now, what's a national portal? There's probably about 500 different ones, and we've been able to make sure that your property gets showcased amongst almost all of them across the nation. Now, these are things like Trulia, Realtor.com, Zillow, Redfin, Realestate.com, ActiveRain, Homes.com, and on and on. Some are based solely on the amount of photographs, and some are based on how often they're updated. Classified services. Now, the third bucket of marketing online is classified services. Classified services are going to be things like Craigslist and Udo and things of that nature. And what I figured out is that 99% of other agents do is they put the property on the classified services, but they won't do it as often as needed. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post your property and commit to reposting your property on these sites. A lot of people think that on classified sites that there are not people who are really purchasing property from there. And the truth is there are a lot of people who actually search for homes still on the classified sites. And then they might search it up online after they look for it on the classified sites. Search engines. Now, additionally, we're going to make sure that your property is showcased on the search engines. This is what we are probably best at. And later I can go into the details about how we do that when we meet in person. We understand how Google, Yahoo, MSN, and Bing work and the power of getting your property showcased on those most popular sites is extremely important. Now, the fifth bucket is social media. And agents don't always understand the importance of marketing property on social media. You have clients that are always on social media, always on their phone, always looking for property, always on Facebook. And in fact, you might have seen my ad on a social media platform. Signs and flyers. We want to make sure that you have adequate amount of signs and flyers out there marketing your property. We've been able to find out that about 15% of all clients found their actual home that they purchased from a sign or from a flyer, other than on-site advertising. Because of this, we have a marketing plan that allows you to create signage and flyers and make the phone ring. That's what we do. And we get people to want to see your home. The key is to get people to want to come inside your home and to want to see your home. So we make sure that you have the right signage outside of your home and the right signage in your home. Open houses. This is what I learned from the National Association of Realtors and from experience about open houses. Now, if you decide to do an open house, I'm going to give you a couple of quick warnings. Sometimes people use open houses because they're nosy neighbors or they just want to see inside of your property. And sometimes the people are looking to steal medication, jewelry, firearms, personal documents, and on and on and on I can go. So I have a way to help you to have a 24-hour open house without inconveniencing you or putting you in risk of having things stolen. If you choose to have an open house where the public is able to come in without being pre-qualified to make sure that they're able to purchase, then we will do that for you. But we want to make sure that we give you the warning about what open houses, the potential harm open houses can bring. So we've created a 24 open house for you where we have videos, virtual tours, etc. for anybody who wants to see your property, that allows us to take them on a walkthrough of your property 24 hours a day. And then once they're qualified and they're actually a potential buyer, then we can schedule an appointment for them to come in. And you have 7% of people actually purchase their houses from open houses. That's what the National Association of Realtors states. What they don't mention is that 7% of people who actually purchase their house from an open house, those are new builders who have open houses, where people walk into a new builder community to those open houses and they purchase their homes. Now, other than that, it seems like a silly category to have something that says other, but really there is other things that help you to get your home sold. 3% of people actually purchase their home from print advertising, newspapers, the real estate magazines. Only 3% of people purchase homes from that source. However, that is the biggest cost to market a property. So what we do is, rather than wasting marketing dollars on a platform where very few people actually purchase homes, we make sure that your property is marketed where the buyers are going to look to purchase property. Now, if there's anything that any other agent has said to you that I forgot to mention as it relates to getting your home sold, please contact me and we will make sure to discuss that when we're on our face-to-face appointment. You can contact me at area code 443-302-9867, or you can email me at latashasaleshomes@gmail.com. Again, my phone number is 443-302-9867. I thank you so much for listening to this quick presentation to give you a slight overview of what we do. I look forward to meeting you in person, going in deep, going into all the details. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.